Welcome to an Attack of the Bee Team tutorial. Today we're going to be tackling Project Red Transportation System. Now I'm going to try to make this up on the fly, so hopefully I don't go too fast for you. But what I've got is a layout here. We're going to have an output. Oop, good one. Great start. We're going to have an output chest here. We have an input chest here. This is going to be an auxiliary chest from, we can say this is just somewhere outside the system that we constantly need to feed pipes into. We got sand and clay in here. I'm using this as an example as, let's say you've got a sludge machine. This is the output of the sludge machine, and you just want everything coming from there to go into the system. That's what I'm using that as. These are just going to be simulated storage chests. They have nothing hooked up to them. These are reinforced iron chests, which I do recommend because you get the most storage. Now, the reinforced chest, whether it's iron, whether it's gold, whether it's diamond, whatever, they all have the same storage. So I don't really, that I know of. So I don't really know what the big difference is. So if you want a reinforced chest, you know, here's the recipe for that. Iron. You got iron blocks, a chest, and some wood blocks surrounded by some iron ingots. It's not that expensive if you've got the materials like the wood to make the chest, and you got to make strong boxes. So there's the recipe for that. You don't reinforce strong box. You don't have to use hardened glass. Okay, you don't need a reinforce. You just need a strong box. Okay, let's go ahead and get right into it. Let's go ahead and get that music off. Forget you, music. So what we need is, right now we've got a basic transportation pipe. This will transport items, any and all items. This is not what you need to pull the items out, though. What you need to pull the items out are these interface pipes. And here's the recipe for that. Your basic building block for pipes is going to be the junction pipe. So once you make a junction pipe, which it makes 16 of, so it's not that expensive. The Illumars can be hard to get if you don't have dyes, or if you're in a desert or someplace that doesn't have a lot of dyes or flowers, so that can be the expensive part. You're going to need to be a little bit of a gardener if you want to do that. And keep a lookout, because some flowers, if you pulverize them, you get twice as much dye from them as you would if you just put them in your crafting window. So these were interesting to get. Infused silicon, that's probably the hardest thing you've got to get. It's got red silicon compound, which is silicon surrounded by redstone. You get silicon from a silicon bowl, which is sandy coal, which is a block of coal surrounded by sand. So it's not that expensive. It's just it's involved to get the steps to that. So you get these interface pipes, right? And we're gonna do shift, right click on our chests. Any chest that you want to, interface with is going to need a routed interface pipe. So even this guy over here, even though we're just pulling items out of here, is going to need a routed interface pipe. Okay, and you can see these little green things flowing between, signifying that, yes, the system is indeed working. Now, let me stop here and mention, let's go ahead and break that. I mean, what would you think of when you see something like this? You see several pipes coming together, right? What would you call that? What would you call something like that on the interstate? That's a junction, okay? So we need a junction pipe here. And essentially what a junction pipe is going to do is it's going to route the items. It's going to be smart enough to route the items where it needs to go. So you don't have to interface with these, but it's going to be smart enough to route them where they need to go. Otherwise, if you pull items out of this chest and there's no junction, it's going to go over here, and it's going to go, okay, I don't belong here. Then it's going to go over here, and it'll bounce around until it finds one of these chests and gets stored. It may even come back here, and then it'll go, oh, wait, I don't belong here. But a junction, anytime you have multiple pipes coming together, you're going to need a junction pipe. And now, granted, this is all my understanding. Please correct me if I'm wrong, but this is my understanding of it. So, each of these interface pipes, the ones that you stick up to the chests, are going to have a GUI, and they're not going to work right off the bat. They're not. So, mine's black for whatever reason. Yours is probably not going to be black. I don't know why mine is, but it still works just fine. So what you need, the two basic chips to get a chest to respond and be able to give items are going to be an item responder chip. Makes sense, right? You got to respond when you request an item. It needs to respond from the chest, so it's going to pull the item. So you need a responder chip. Go ahead and make that. All the basic items for the chips, and you should just make a bunch of these right off the bat, is the null logic routing chip. So you'll need some gold ingots, some redstone dust, and some paper. The next step is the broadcaster chips. And that's basically exactly what it sounds like. You're going to broadcast the items that are in this chest. So the items that are in this chest will be broadcasted to our main system, and that's where you'll see the items, basically. So let's just go ahead and set that part up. So we have a routed request pipe. And let's go ahead and assign signs here. This is going to be our output chest. And I find that putting it in a chest works a lot better than just standing there waiting for it. It's a little less buggy. There are some bugs with this system, a little bit, but I find that it's a lot less buggy, and you'll have a lot less of a chance of losing the items, slipping through the floor, and things like that if you just output them into a chest. This is going to be our input back into this system. Now, I've seen some other people in some other videos make an easier system where you can step on a pressure plate or something like that, and it basically, it almost does things for you. That's great. This is just on a basic level. If you want to make one of these systems, it works out pretty well. I'm making this tutorial because there's only 2 or 3 out there, and I found it complicated when I went to do it, so I thought I'd make a tutorial for it. This is going to be our auxiliary chest. Let's go ahead and name that. This is our aux chest. Alright. So our routed request pipe, which is made like so. We've got our junction pipe. Like I said, that's going to be the basic building block to make these other pipes. So diamonds, redstone, and Attack of the B Team diamonds are not expensive, so this is relatively cheap. So you make 3 or 4 of these wherever you want the output to the system to be. We make a routed request pipe, and we put it on the side. Now you can tell these yellow markers, wherever these yellow markers are, if you have another chest right here, wherever the yellow markers are is what chest it's interfacing with. And I believe, yes, that's true for these other pipes as well. And you could take a crescent hammer if you wanted to, if you had another chest here, and you could switch them back and forth depending on what output you wanted. So let's go ahead and use some of these more transport pipes, bring this up here, and now we have a routed request pipe. So if we go ahead and right click on it, we're going to be brought up the GUI, and there's nothing here. Here's where your items would be, here's where you would search your items, and here's where you would query and submit and receive your items. For each of these chests, like I mentioned, let's go ahead and get them set up. So, item responder chip. Sometimes, I haven't had much luck, but sometimes you can come into the GUI and here are the different slots, and you can take them and you can put them in here. I don't have much luck doing that, so I have to shift right click them in there. But before we do that, go ahead and take all the chips in your hand, right click them, and this brings up an interface for the chips. Now you're going to want to make a change to all these chips, and when you make a change to all the chips that are stacked in your inventory, you're making a change to all of them, so you don't have to worry. The responder chip, we want to come over here to filtering, and we want to make sure items are blacklisted. So no items are blacklisted, so it's going to respond with all items. That's great. You can also whitelist, and you can put specific whitelists on here and say, I don't want this coming in here, I don't want that coming in here, and this, that, and the other, and it works a little better. So we've got our modified item responder chips, and you can also come in here and set priorities and things. I'm not going to be messing around with that in this tutorial, unfortunately. I know that's probably something that's needed, and maybe I'll do one later on, but I'm not messing around with that at the moment. So we go ahead and boom, 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 boom. Alright, you shift right click with it in your hand to get it in there. Oop, I just put another one in there. I did not mean to do that. Okay, let's go ahead and grab that guy out of there. So responder chips in each one of them. Yep, looks good. And a broadcaster chip in each one of them. This one has a similar interface. It's not crucial that you blacklist because it's blacklisted by default, so that's not needed that much. Shift right click. Okay. So we now have those two chips in there. Now with those two chips in there, we should have a functioning system. Okay. Let's go ahead and put some marble, cobblestone in there. Put some of this in there. Put some of that in there. Put some more chests in here and some temple blocks in there. Okay, so if we do that, we come over here to our request pipe. Boom. And if you hit the repull button, that's essentially downloading what's in there already. So we go ahead and select cobblestone. I want 4 blocks of cobblestone. Submit. I've successfully requested, and boom, there they are. They come right into the chest. It's fantastic. It's beautiful. I love it. To put them back into the system, we are going to need an interface pipe because we're interfacing with a chest, right? Makes sense? Okay. Let's go ahead and put that there. And here, normally you think, okay, maybe you need a junction pipe here. This is an exception to the rule. Now, if you have an interface pipe, and this is going to be an extractor, it knows it's not going to need to go over here, because this is a request pipe. So it will know to automatically go back there, and then it's going to hit this junction pipe, and it's going to make the right decision whether to go here or to go here, and it's going to go that way. So an exception to the rule. Here we need an item extractor chip. And like the others, we're going to go ahead and let's just make one of those. We're going to select one of these, right click, filter mode. Items are blacklisted, so we want to allow all items. Shift right click, put that in there. And we're also going to use an item overflow responder chip. Now what is that for? That's going to detect, let me talk, would you? That's going to detect if these chests are all full. We'll come over here and it will put them back and it'll stay in here. So normally if they're full, it would bounce around in the system and really kind of clog things up. But if you put an overflow responder on each of your inputs, then it's not going to do that. So basically you probably want to do that from any input or auxiliary, like that over there, any auxiliary chest that you've got routed into your system. So if you get full up, you want to know. So it's going to output it in here. You're going to look in here after a while and be like, man, this is really full. It hasn't pulled the stuff in there. So, you know, why not? So we're going to go ahead and install that. Shift right click. Okay, let's look at that. We've got our overflow responder and our extractor. We go ahead and we have our 4 cobble in our inventory. Put it in there. And you'll see it. There it goes. And it puts it in the first available chest. That's what it's looking for. If this guy's full, it'll probably go to this guy. If that guy's full, it'll go back here. So our 4 cobblestone get put back here. The unfortunate thing is that we've got 4 cobblestone here. The rest of our cobblestone is in the chest above it. So that's not super efficient storage because it's not putting it in there. I'm not sure a way around that without assigning certain chests to certain things, but that's just one of the things you got to deal with the system, unfortunately. Other than that, it's great. Let's get a drink of the water here. Okay. To this auxiliary chest, let's say we've got an output from a sludge machine. So we've got clay and we've got sand in here. And let's go ahead and let's also set up an example. For me, in my base, and if you'll see my Attack of the B Team series, you'll see in my base, I've got a system set up that will automatically process some of this stuff. So in my sludge chest, I've got sand and tainted soil and mycelium and all things like that in there. I've got that. That's great. I love that. But what I've also got is I've got some deep storage units. Yes, this system can interface with deep storage units. Hallelujah. Right? So, but let's talk about that just a little bit later. We have this reinforced chest. We want to extract items from it, much like we would from this guy. So you want to take an item extractor chip. And for this guy, if you just, like here's what I have going on. I say, I want to whitelist clay. And so that's what I started off with. I whitelisted clay. That's in the chip. And so if I put this in here, it's going to whitelist clay, and it's only going to take clay out. So we go ahead and put that in there. And it should start to take, yep, there it goes. Take some clay out. Now, it's taking them 8 at a time. That's its default speed. You can do some modifiers to that and get some more speed, and I'll do a advanced tutorial about that a little bit later. But it's pulling these out a stack at a time, and it's putting them in the what? The first available chest. Oh, up, 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 up. Calm down, calm down. First available chest, which is this one. So it's going to pull that stack out. That's fine. If you don't need it to work harder than that, that's fine. Now, let me caution, when I was doing some advancements of that item responder, that extractor chip, I did happen to crash our server, so I'm not sure if that's got a bug in it or what. But let's go ahead and show the deep storage unit, how that can interface with it. So deep storage unit, there we go. Let's say you want this to be your clay deep storage unit. Or let's say your sand, since I've already got sand in there. So let's treat this like a chest. What kind of pipe do we want on here? We want an interface pipe, because we're going to interface with it, right? Makes sense. So we also want the same chips on these as we had. We also want the same chips on this as we did on these. So we need a broadcaster chip and a responder chip. These have already been set. Let me make sure they are all blacklisted. Yes, items blacklisted. Except, let's see here. Item responder chip. If this is going to be sand, what we want to do is separate out our responder chip here. And we're going to say, we're going to whitelist sand. So we only want sand in here. Shift right click, put her in there. Now I believe you can do the same thing for the broadcast chip, but you probably don't have to, but you can just to be safe. We're going to whitelist, and we're going to put sand, because that means it's only going to be broadcasting sand. But it's a deep storage unit, so it wouldn't be anyways, but if you just wanted to be safe, you could do that. Now, don't be tempted to think you're done here. Okay? If I put the sand in that system, it's going to come into the first available chest. Well, why? Well, that's because all these have blacklisted nothing. So it gets to these first, and it's going to go into these chests. It's not going to have a chance to get here. It's not that smart. So if you want to come in here and take out the item responders, and we will modify them. And we'll take their item responders, and we will blacklist. Right now we're blacklisting nothing. We're going to blacklist sand. Okay? And we'll put them back in. 2, 3, 4. So let's go ahead and pull out half of this guy. And let's input it over here into our system. And let's watch. Okay, close the chest. It's going to come out of here. And it's going to go into our deep storage unit. That's exactly what we wanted. And actually, I just saw it bounce. I might be wrong about that. We do need a junction pipe here. I am so sorry, I am wrong. We need a junction pipe. Alright, there we go. Okay. I don't actually recommend having this setup. I recommend having 2 separate pipes coming to your input and output. But wherever they would meet, you do need a junction pipe. Just beware. Alright, so it's gone ahead and pulled all that out, and it skipped these guys, and it went right in here. Now it's not pulling it out of here because we don't have that item whitelisted. So if we come over here, pull out our extractor chip, and say, well, we also want sand out of here. Shift right click. Watch it, watch it, watch it, watch it. There it goes. Past these guys and into our deep storage unit. So that's brilliant. That's brilliant. That's perfect. You can come in here and you can request sand. Let's do a repull. Okay, it just went in. Repull 56. There's some more sand. repoll it, 63. And you can request it. You can request all of it. Let's request all of it. And when you request items, they come very quickly. It's when you extract them that you'll have to do adjustments and to get them to come out a stack at a time. And I'll do an advanced video on that, and hopefully it won't crash things, but I'll do that, and we'll check that out. But for now, I hope you've appreciated this tutorial. Let me go ahead and do one more thing. You can have more than one routed request pipe in the system. So if we wanted to come here, or, forget it. Let's just use this junction. We wanted to come out here, and you could go up, you could go down, but I'm just going to come all the way out here with it. Give me a chest. And for your input and output chest, I really wouldn't recommend the reinforced iron chest because it's just a drop zone, so you shouldn't really need it. If we have another routed request pipe, or let's just actually have it come up like so. So that will still open. And we can request from this part of the system as well. So if I want 32 white cobble, or I'm sorry, marble, I call it white cobble, marble, here we go, it pulls to this part of the system. So you can have multiple outputs, and you can have multiple inputs. You can come over here and set yourself up another input. But this system is great. I love it. It's just fantastic. Just watching it, boom, it knows exactly what it's doing. It's great. So check this out. Let me know what you think. Leave a like, leave a comment, and I will see you in the next tutorial video.